Thank you for joining us. Today we have everything you've ever wanted to know about recycling in Brattleboro. Not only what you wanted to know, but what you should know. And joining us are two experts, Brattleboro's two co-recycling coordinators. To my left, Cindy Sterling, who was also the recycling coordinator for the Windham Solid Waste Management District.
Hello.
And to my right is former Brattleboro Select Board member Moss Kaler, who also has gained some acclaim in recent months for being one of the principal opponents of the whole pay-as-you-throw question that was before a representative town meeting last year. Thank you both. And to start off with, what do both of you see as your respective roles in helping Brattleboro both increase recycling and decrease what they throw away?
Well, Tim, this was going to be a single position that the town meeting reps put aside money for 1 year, and Barbara Sondag, the town manager, thought that if she could combine Cindy's skills and my skills together, that maybe the town would get more bang for their buck, so to speak. And so we're sharing this position for the coming year. We started on December 1st, and we're going to go through next November 30th, and it's just a 1-year position, and then hopefully we'll have set up the programs in such a way, and the accountings for the programs, that so we can carry on after Cindy and I are done with our year. As you mentioned, I was a former selectman, and I was on the select board when Brattleboro started curbside recycling. So I have a long history going back with the MRF and curbside recycling, and I think that's one of the reasons that Barb Sondag thought that I could bring something to this position. I also have a passion for recycling and getting into things, as people may know from the pay-as-you-throw petitions and the vote the town had on that.
Cindy.
Well, I bring to the position my many years of solid waste management work. I've worked in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont since 1987. So to answer your question on what we would like to do for Brattleboro, it really is to help educate the town, get them so everyone understands what's recyclable, what's not, and to hopefully improve the quality of the material. Because by working at the Windham Solid Waste Management District Material Recovery Facility, I see what everyone goes through in order to prepare these goods for market. And that's basically what we're doing, is we're selling a product. And the cleaner that product is, the more money that we're going to recover on it, which again will help taxpayers, because we'll be able to not have to be hitting up the taxpayers for the money to run the programs.
Okay, a couple of definitions here. Material Recovery Facility, otherwise known as what Moss called it, MRF. So we want to make sure that we all know what we're talking about. And to that end, what is currently recyclable, and is that listed somewhere?
Yes, we have these wonderful flyers that every resident has received in the mail in Brattleboro, and we do have them at the Windham Solid Waste District as well. They've been posted in the newspapers for ads, and they do list everything that is recyclable. I can hold it up at the camera so we can see what might that be.
We'll take care of that.
And they can go online to the windhamsolidwaste.org, and there's just click on the recycle link, and there's a full list of everything that is recyclable and not recyclable.
Given the fact that there are a lot of people who may not be either internet savvy or might not have access to the internet, is this information available in another form?
Well, right now it really is just this paper form. So they could always call the Windham Solid Waste Management District and get a copy mailed to them. Now everybody in Brattleboro also did receive a brochure, and that had as an insert this as well. We are planning to put it around town, like in the libraries and shopping centers, and just try to keep those places where there's community information stocked with these flyers.
Okay, run down the list for me, just in case there are things that have changed, because it seems like the list of different recyclables is a moving target depending upon markets, because that's what you're doing, preparing items for market.
Right, and it's a difficult place to be, because in the past, I don't know if anybody remembers when box board, which is your craft boxes, cereal boxes, Kleenex boxes and stuff, we would say it was recyclable, and then we said it wasn't recyclable, and when we finally said once again that it was recyclable, we decided we were going to keep it as a recyclable item, no matter if it ended up not being so valuable and crashing in the market. Same now with plastics. In the past, we always took plastic bottles. So that was any plastic container that had a neck. So that would be your soda, milk, detergent bottles, creams. And lately, the recycling market has gotten a little bit better. So we are now taking on all plastic food and beverage containers. There's a little kicker with that, because we say all plastic food and beverage containers, but again, we do need to address the market. And so any of the takeout containers that have a black bottom to them or any type of color bottom, we do not want people to recycle those. It's not easy. It's really difficult. It would be so easy if everybody could just put it all in one bin and allow other people to sort it, but that becomes a very expensive system. So we're still hoping to be able to let people understand exactly what can be and what can't be recycled. So any of your plastic food and beverage containers that do not have a colorful bottom to them, and anything that is smaller than 10 gallons. So if you get a 5-gallon jug of vinegar or something like that, that is still recyclable. But if you're getting anything that's in a huge 10-gallon container, that would not be recyclable. And again, that has to do with that. When you get into the larger items, it really is the processing at our facility and what we're able to handle with our machinery. Paper, all of your paper goods are recyclable. So any of your paperback books, phone books, newspapers, writing paper, envelopes, pretty much the code is if you can tear it, then you can recycle it. So something like a Tyvek envelope, do you know what that is?
One of those mailer envelopes.
One of those mailer,
Right.
they have a plastic fiber throughout them. Those would not be recyclable.
Or window envelopes.
Well, and I'm glad you asked that, because I was just about to say that. Window envelopes are now okay to recycle.
Really?
Yeah, they're fine. The system has gotten to a place now, the places we send them to, the manufacturing places, they can now take care of those small contaminants. So that's another vocabulary word, is contaminants, that you'd be hearing in the field. And so things like paper clips, staples, the windows and envelopes, those are all allowable in small quantities.
So going on to cardboard,
Yes.
what's accessible and what's not?
So corrugated cardboard, that is the cardboard that has a little ridgy line in between the two layers. That is recyclable. Your box board, as I said, so that's your cereal boxes, your paper bags are recyclable. And that's it in the cardboard and brown paper area. Anything that is waxed cardboard is not recyclable.
Okay, moving on, drink cups. We are sitting
Yep.
here with these kind of cardboard and waxy drink cups. What about those?
These would not be recyclable. So what you can do with them, though, is bring them to what we call our Project Cow at the Windham Solid Waste District. And that is a specific container that we have. It looks like a dumpster. It is a dumpster with spots all over it. And it is Project Cow. You can't miss the labeling on it. And you could bring what we call in the industry the low-grade paper products. So that would be your tissues, your waxy cardboard, so this has a little bit of wax on it. You can just take your nail and do that with it. Any of your juice or milk containers that come in a carton, those, as long as you take the plastic spout out of it, those could be brought to Project Cow. And tissues, pet waste, that would go.
Including litter?
Litter, kitty litter. Mm-hmm.
And meat and fish and chicken, which you normally would not put into your backyard compost, Project Cow will take. So almost any kind of food waste go there, plus, as Cindy said, the low-grade papers. In talking to people, we find that a lot of people are still confused, and probably not surprisingly so, as to what's recyclable and what's not, because it does change from now to then. But one item we see very often in the curbside recycling bins that should not be in the bins is tin foil or aluminum foil, aluminum baking pans and pie pans. But once again, there is a spot if you want to collect that aside, and once you have a quantity that's large enough, if you want to take your aluminum foil, you can take that to the MRF on Old Ferry Road, no cost, and you put it into their metal bin. You can just drive up there and toss it in, and there's no fee involved. So while you're going to do your Project Cow and to take your compost and your low-grade papers and waxy cartons and tissue papers and paper towels and those things, you can also take your tin foil. But it should not go in your curbside.
Right, and a lot of people ask again, well, why can't we just put it into the curbside bins, or why can't we just put it into the drop-off bins and have you guys sort it at the MRF? And again, it just comes down to economics. You know, the sorting line is designed to sort a particular amount of materials. We do have the ability to expand slightly, but not too much. The staffing is limited as well. Our space to store the stuff is limited. So for us, we really depend on using the staff at Wyndham Solid Waste to go for the high quality, high marketable materials. And then we ask of the residents, if you really still want to reduce the waste stream even more, we provide the other options, but you just need to bring it there yourself. Because when it comes to us in the bins, we don't necessarily have the time to be able to take it out and then walk it on over, drive it on over to the other bins where they belong, because it's in a totally different part of the center across the yard.
And that really goes down to the whole economics of being able to, again, find affordable markets and make sure that this resource is used and you're not charging the taxpayers more for throwing it away.
Exactly. And that's why we've decided, we sort of call it the low-hanging fruit in a sense, and that's your high marketable stuff. There's enough stuff out there that's the really high marketing, good value recycled material that we still are not getting what we should in quantities.
Moss?
Yeah, I would like people to realize that the waste stream and the recycling stream doesn't end when people sort it in their house and take it down to their driveway. There's a lot of people who handle it from that point out. Triple Tree, who picks up the town's curbside, they're a great organization. Norm Mowry and all the guys that drive the trucks. I've ridden with several of their guys on the recycling truck and trash truck recently, and I know that they work very hard. And some of those mornings are very cold, or very snowy, or very windy, or very wet, and it's not an easy job. And one guy in town, Andre Smith, picks up all the recyclables, curbside recyclables in town, just one single guy, and it's really amazing what he does. And the trash guys work plenty hard too. But they have to handle that, and then they take it to the recyclables, they take to the MRF, where they're sorted and sorted there by hand, by individuals with the materials going by them on a conveyor belt, picking through and sorting and throwing out the contaminants. And one thing that would really, really help a lot is if people washed out their containers, their cat food and dog food, their spaghetti jars, their milk cartons. If they could clean, it doesn't have to be washed out with a sponge like you're going to put it up into your cabinet to eat on it the next day, not like dishes, but to rinse it out and get the bulk of the food bits out of there would be very, very helpful.
How come?
Rats.
Yeah, there's a vector
Smell.
problem, a rodent problem, and odor, and you know, and just the guys. You can imagine, especially in the summer, when things are warmer. You know, that's an odor problem too. And just to make it, not that we could make it smell like roses in the MRF, but maybe we could make it a little bit better in there. And the same with the guys picking them up curbside. And one other thing I want to mention in terms of putting your recyclables out to the curb. there's a lot of people in Brattleboro who are doing a great job of recycling, but they are not aware that when they might put, say, their paper in their green bin, and then they put their containers in a plastic bag, or vice versa. But what I'm getting at is they put some of their recyclables in a plastic bag, and that bag causes a lot of problems. For one, it's, well, for two reasons. One, if Andre, who's picking it up at the curb, just picks that bag up and throws it into the truck, that bag's going to go to the MRF, and that bag is going to have to be ripped open or gets torn open by the machinery, and often that bag can actually get caught up in the conveyor belts and rollers and equipment, and occasionally they actually have to stop the line and yank out all the bags that get caught in there. It's another item they also have to handle. It gets thrown away. It does not get recycled. It makes it, so what Andre often does is at the curb, he'll take that bag and he rips it open, and so he'll put the loose paper or the loose containers into the recycling truck, and then of course he's left with a bag that he doesn't know what to do with. It takes him time, it takes him effort, it gets an extra piece of trash that he has to handle. And so that's one thing. Starting April 1st, we're going to enforce Brattleboro's mandatory recycling ordinance more strictly. And when people put their recyclables out in a plastic bag come April 1st, Andre's not going to pick them up anymore. Everything should be either in a paper bag or some kind of rigid container. The green 18-gallon bin that many people have that has the Town of Brattleboro seal on it. It could be a garbage can, as long as it's clearly labeled recyclables. It could be a plastic waste bucket. It could be a cardboard carton. Almost any kind of rigid container or a paper bag will work, not your pet food bags. Pet food bags have a plastic liner in them. They're not just paper, but they're paper and plastic. So pet bags, food bags, are trash. They do not get recycled. So don't put your recyclables into pet bags, and don't put your pet bags in with your paper and cardboard. Put it in your trash.
Yep. And thinking about paper, when you asked about that, shredded paper always comes up a lot. People are wondering, can I recycle my shredded paper? And we will take shredded paper, but again, a lot of people have a tendency to want to put their shredded paper in a big plastic bag, and then they throw the entire thing into the bin. So we'll ask you to dump that, rip open that plastic bag and dump it into the bin. But again, now you have loose shredded paper all over the place. So my best bet is to put that shredded paper into a brown paper bag, because then it still stays contained and it all gets recycled together.
Yeah, and it's important to be able to accept shredded paper, because with all the concerns about privacy and about identity theft, people want to shred a lot of those important documents.
Right. And you know, and it's funny you say that too, because a lot of folks say, well, I don't want to recycle my paper if it's, you know, bills or whatever, because I'm worried about, now that I know people handle this stuff on the line, they handle it when they pick it up, they handle it as they're sorting it. I don't want my personal information to be seen by other people. What if someone's going to steal my identity?
I can have mine.
Our response to that is, if you know, it moves so fast, that conveyor belt is going by at 30, 35 miles an hour. People really don't have time to sit there and read other people's information, but it doesn't hurt to cut it up, tear it up, shred it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing a lot with my things. Even something as simple as a company that wants you to buy their credit card, that should really be taken care of in that way too.
Right, right, and thrown away. You don't want to recycle that little, well, or if it's the credit card that they give you in the mail.
Right.
Yeah.
If your junk mail includes the credit card, your 14th of that week, or the keys to the car you're going to win.
Right.
Take those things out, throw them in the trash, but the rest of that piece of junk mail can go right into your recycling.
You know, in all of this, we haven't mentioned bottles and cans. You're still doing those too, right?
Well, it's so funny, because I was just thinking that. I've been sitting here thinking, okay, people also ask about lids. And so bottles and cans, your glass bottles, your aluminum cans, to bring back the whole aluminum idea. The aluminum that's used in a beverage container, we call that in the field another word, used beverage containers. So those are UBCs, and that's what your aluminum cans are. And those are a little different aluminum quality than what your foil stuff is. The foils are shorter fibers. Again, when you recycle something, it's coming back over and over and over again. As it keeps getting broken down and then made into a product again and then broken down again, those fibers get smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's how you deter the difference between a high quality and a low quality material. And so used beverage cans, those are your aluminum cans, your steel cans are recyclable, your glass bottles and jars are recyclable. People can include the lids, that's okay. When Moss had mentioned about, rinsing out and putting it in the recycle bin, lots of folks like to rinse out, put the cap back on and put it in the recycle bin, and that is fine, it's acceptable. The only glass type of items we don't want, though, would be your dishware, your glassware, your light bulbs, your mirrors.
Broken window.
Broken window.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Again, different quality glass. So.
Also, to take window pane as an example.
Yeah, you probably deal with a few of those.
Yeah, well, I try not to break them. If you're putting, it should go in your trash, but be careful if you put it in your trash in such a way that it's within the center of the bag and well padded, or put it out on the curb, clearly marked, broken glass, because we don't want any of the haulers to get cut handling that. And should it go into your recyclables, which it should not, and got to the MRF, there it would cause a potential danger to the workers there to have broken glass and that.
So your options for recycling in Brattleboro are curbside once every other week. You've still got the bins out and about?
Yep, the bins are still out and about, and you can buy extra bins at the town if you want to. I think they're charging $9 now.
And if you have no bins, if your house is without a bin, I believe that your first bin is free.
Yes.
The town has about 300, and I have a strong suspicion that as people come around to recycling, as we hope and expect they will, that the town may very well run out of those bins. So if you want a bin, your first bin for free, your additional bin for $9 a piece, I would head to the town soon and pick that up.
Right, and you pick them up at the town office, not at the Wyndham Solid Waste District. That gets a little confusing because we sell the composting bins at our facility, but the recycling bins for curbside are at the town office.
It's good to hear that a lot of the containers that need to be recycled, you should wash and rinse out, because that would take care of some of the smell problems that some people might have as those concerns, storing them in their house before they're waiting to put them out on the curb.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Aerosol cans is another recyclable item.
I
A
didn't
lot
know
of
that.
people get confused by that, but they have to be empty. But as long as an aerosol can is emptied, it's okay to recycle that. And that is confusing. And if you have any question on whether you're not sure if it's empty or not, then I would say don't recycle it. But if you're sure that it's empty, if it's cooking oil like the PAM, if it's your hairspray, even paint spray cans, as long as they're empty, they can be recycled in the curbside bins or the drop-off bins.
And Cindy, that brings up paint cans of latex or oil-based paint. Correct me if I'm wrong, but an oil-based paint is hazardous waste and should be brought to the, was it 1 or 2 hazardous waste stays?
Well, you can actually bring oil-based paint, stains, polyurethane, and enamels to the Wyndham Solid Waste District.
Anytime.
Anytime that we're open. You just go up to the scale house. But
and latex.
Latex paint is not hazardous anymore. The latex paint companies decided to take out the mercury that they used to put in latex paint, and now you can just harden it and throw it away if you don't use it all. Now, there are other options. If you have good latex paint, you could bring it to the Wyndham Solid Waste District swap shed, and that's open.
I'm dangerous at the swap shed.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
And luckily it's only open the
I
second
recognize that
Saturday
shirt,
now,
Tim.
huh? So that's open on Saturdays. In the wintertime, it's only the second Saturday of the month from 8 to noon. And then in April, they'll switch over to every Saturday from 8 to noon. And that's all volunteer driven. So they'll take any good used paint products and also renew the material
salvage,
salvage place on Putney Road.
But if you have a latex paint can that you've used up or nearly used up, you can, some people, you could pour that out on a plastic sheet and let the paint dry. You could mix it with kitty litter, it'll dry. But once the paint can's empty and has no latex paint in it anymore, you can put that in your trash.
And or you could bring it to the metal bin at the recycling facility, at the Wyndham Solid Waste facility. So that same metal bin that Moss had talked about, that you could bring your aluminum baking pans and foil, you can bring your empty, but keyword is empty, paint cans to that as well. And you know, we all know paint cans have a little bit of paint residue on the side. That's fine as long as there's nothing on the bottom.
So bottom line, people have questions. How can they get them answered?
They could always call the town office, Brattleboro town office, Callista. There, if you call the finance department,
Callista Carbonell.
She will answer your questions as best she can. You can always call the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District, because there's somebody there all the time to answer your questions.
257-0272.
That's it. And again, you can go online to the wyndhamsolidwaste.org. As part of the position here for Brattleboro coordinator, recycling coordinator, I'm hoping to upgrade the brattleboro.org site so it has more information. But right now, 257-0272 or wyndhamsolidwaste.org, or call the town office and speak with Callista.
Well, Moss, Cindy, thank you a lot for sharing some time with us and sharing the information. I think we are off to a good start, and really it just takes a little initial effort by all of us, and then it's easy.
I hope we can join you again sometime.
Yeah, because we didn't even cover needles yet, or construction and demolition debris, or textiles.
Coming up next, needles, textiles, locks, stocks, and barrels. Plenty more recycling conversation in the near future.
Yes,
we
hope
invite
so.
you back.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, this is the very recycled Tim Johnson. Please have a good day.